Ever wonder how help arrives when your car breaks down in the cold? It's more than tow trucks. It's smart tech and smarter insurance. Meet Kin Lee-Yow, CIO at CAA. From tinkering with toys to leading massive tech teams. Turn tools into a successful career. Listen now.
The big difference between the knowledge and experience. But as a mentor, I can keep telling people about enhancing their knowledge. I can give them some feel about the experience, but they won't feel that experience until that experience. So it's a fascinating piece. I think for me, as I go through my career progression, the various number of people that you end up meeting, the various number of people who help you through the way, people who challenge you, it all makes a difference. And the more you start learning about people's psychology, it really makes you better.
Hello and welcome to another Leaders in Tech podcast. I am your host, David Mansilla. I have with us today a person that is in charge of the tech for an organization that I have been using for over 20 years. King, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
So who you work for is pretty obvious, but give me your full name. What do you do for a living and where do you work?
Okay, so my name is Kin Lee-Yow. And the company I work for is called CAA Club Group. And for people who are listening and don't know about CAA Club Group, CAA is the Canadian Automobile Association. And we are one of the 8 clubs in Canada. So we are the largest club in Canada. We do provide roadside services through our membership organization, CAA South Central Ontario and CAA Manitoba. But we also have our insurance underwriting companies, CAA Insurance, Orion Travel Medical Insurance, and then there's Echelon Insurance as well. So both CAA Insurance and Echelon Insurance are in the P&C business. Echelon is more on the specialty side, while CAA is more on the personal side.
This podcast is brought to you by ISU Corp. Are you having trouble with your software projects? Is there a project that's taking too long or a technology you can't handle? We can help. We are ISU Corp, experts in custom software since 2005. With almost 20 years of experience, we can solve any technical problem from new businesses to satellite software. We've done it all. Let us turn your ideas into reality. Learn more about how we can help by visiting us at www.isucorp.ca. Your solution starts here.
To be honest with you, I didn't know that CAA had any competition.
Well, we always have competition. It depends on the insurance side. On the road side, there is a lot less, but we still have competition. Competitors have tried to come in. Right. We always have, there's another one with the logo of a triangle.
You know, King, that the first time I got CAA, my brother told me, I moved to Canada in 1991. I came from a tropical country, Guatemala. I went to university. That's why I moved. But when I moved there, my brother told me, you need to buy CAA. I'm like, what's that? Well, this roadside assistance. I'm like, what for? Well, you live in Canada and it gets cold in the winter. And if you get stuck, you better have somebody to help you out. I'm like, nah, everything is going to be fine. Sure enough, about 7 months later, I get stuck. My car broke down. And I think I had to pay like $300-400 to get a tow truck. So I'm like, okay, I'm paying the membership from now on, you know?
Yes. It's funny enough, you said you come from a tropical country and studied here. I think I also come from a tropical country and studied here.
Right? Where are you from?
I'm from Mauritius.
Oh, that boat is beautiful.
Yeah, so I think Guatemala and Mauritius are close by. I mean, on the closest
parallel.
Yeah,
right. It's the same parallel, but Mauritius is an island of Africa or India.
It's Africa, so it's on the east coast of Madagascar.
Yeah, I was scheduled to go there in 2020, but then COVID hit and I never made it.
Yeah, well, you should still go. It's a nice place to go. It's just a long trip.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be paradise, right? Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
So what got you to Canada, King?
Studies.
Same as me, university.
Studies, and then you like the place, yeah, and it's more opportunity, right?
Yeah. And well, let's hope that we keep it that way, right? We got to make sure that we have freedom and democracy still, right?
Wow, the world is changing a lot these days.
I know, it's crazy. So, Kin, let's talk about your career. So, what do you do for CIA?
Yeah, I'm the Chief Information Officer,
CIA, okay.
CIO for CAA Club Group. And, of late, I've been focusing a lot more on the cybersecurity and AI. So cybersecurity is something of, I don't think it's ever going to disappear. I think, you used to have security. Then when things got digital, it's now called cybersecurity. But at the core of it, it's still the same. It's just that people want to get something that you have and they don't have.
Mm-hmm. Kin, just the insurance arm of CAA must be an incredible business. I do remember getting some insurance from you guys too. And so having that responsibility, I wouldn't want to be in your place. A lot of my clients are corporate insurance providers. So I had a few insurance agencies, but I usually work with the providers, with the giants for my business. So they handle all the risk and all that. We just create intellectual property for them. So new development. But being in charge of systems, cybersecurity for organizations like yours, you're considered first responders, right? Like the stuff that you do saves souls, save lives, right?
Yep. And I think so one of the things that we have in our organization, and my boss, Jay Wu, actually created a very, very simple mission statement, which is obsessed with member safety. And I think that piece helps drive people to sort of say, what is most important? It is really about the safety, whether it's on the roadside, whether it's on the insurance side. It is really always about safety. How do we make sure that people are safe, right? So that's the piece that has been driving the organization.
That's nice. So, King, to become the top technology leader in such an organization, it requires a lot of effort and discipline. So let's look back in your career. What made you decide to go into technology to begin with? Did you go to school for computer science, or what did you do in university?
I want to say I wanted to, I had a vision of being a CIO when I was in high school or anything like that. But I would say I've always been somebody who likes to tinker with things, play with toys. You break them, you try to fix them and get those components. I would say I kind of stumbled on the technology side when I came to Canada. I had a computer back home, but it was one of those keyboard that you plug at the back of the TV and then you kind of play around with it. So got to Canada, started I went to University of Waterloo and did my undergrad in computer science. Learned a lot, and I think that's the piece where they sort of say, okay, you can do a lot more about those components. So that's how I started my journey, and I've been in the technology field ever since. But the thing about technology is you have to realize it's just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It is a tool by which you can use to get to what your business is about. And if you don't know what your business is about, then it's really hard to sort of say, I got a tool, right? The tool at the end of the day is still just a tool. For example, if I'm not sure about you in terms of carpentry, but if I give you a hammer and I got a hammer, we have the same tool. But if you don't have the idea, the skills to actually create something that's nice, it's going to come out terrible, right? I mean, if I don't know how to say, great. I said, how come this guy can actually create all this beautiful furniture and all that stuff, and mine, it looks so clunky, but yet we have the same tool.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it is really about knowing as to how do you use the tool and what is the vision you have, understanding the business. And that's core discipline in terms of knowing the business and applying the technology and not just jumping for, oh my God, this is the latest craze. Let's go towards that. Oh my God, this is the latest craze. Let's jump into that piece.
And King, this is what, especially very good technologists, they fall into that trap. And that's why you are now in a leadership position. Because when I was a kid in technology, when I was a junior developer and all that, I fell into that trap too, right? Like I wanted to experiment with the latest and greatest, and I was doing technology for the love of technology, not for what technology was doing to the business. And that's the fastest way to make a company bankrupt.
I mean, it's so true, but you know what? It's one of those things that people don't teach you, don't tell you about. When you start your career, it's okay, like, this is great, this is great. And it's only through the life experience you'll say, you know what? Yeah, we need to start modifying and changing our approach, right? And the other thing I'll tell you about it is, in high school, at university, I had a course in psychology. And the reason I took psychology, because everybody said, hey, it's very easy to ace it, and it's helped you to boost your grade up. So you kind of take it, you don't pay too much attention to it. But later in your career, you sort of say, psychology is so important. And really, because psychology is about the human mind and behavior. And in the leadership position, you're a leader because you have people. Every single person has a different approach. They have a different mindset. They behave differently. And in order to understand that, understanding the psychology part is very important, because that's how you get to motivate your team. Unfortunately, if all the people were robots, then everybody would function exactly the same way. Problem is, or fortunately, people are people. So it has its good and bad side, right? I always tell people, the best thing about leadership is that you're managing people. The worst thing about leadership is that you're managing people.
Yeah. And wow, it's so true. The worst thing I ever done as a leader in technology was put another rock star specialist as a leader in technology without training them or without even thinking that their skill sets will actually take them to where they needed to be. Huge mistake. If you take somebody, for example, an expert in networking or an expert in development, and this person is like, geniuses. There are geniuses in our careers, and there are people built for that. And if you, because they are so good, force them into a leadership position that they don't want, or they don't have the skill sets, or they don't have the interest, you're going to create the worst mistake in your department. And I have done it. I did it once, never again.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where people tell you not to do it, but until you experience it, you can't really explain it properly. And the bad thing is that having to experience that, means somebody's getting not a good experience. But as you go through it, it's one of those pieces that says, you know what? Yeah, do not put somebody in a leadership position if they don't have the right skills, or give them the opportunity to have the right skill, because it's quite different. We always talk about the hard skill and the soft skill, right? We always say that the hard skills are all the technical aspect, the soft skills are this mushy stuff. But that's really is very important to actually lead.
Yeah. I was so stubborn in that, King, so I was in corporate for about 10 years. So since I graduated from university, by the way, I live about 5K away from U of W. So I live in the area still. But since I graduated, I tried to do my own business. I realized that I was horrible at business. So I went to a job. And so I stayed about 10 years in corporate. But it was like I was growing as a leader in technology in corporate. But when I got into my own business, it's almost like I had to revert back, because people hired me for the technical skills that they saw when I was an independent consultant. And when I started growing, I kept that mentality. And that kept me stagnant for many, many years. The company was always successful and we were always profitable, but I consider myself a technology still, not a leader in technology. And when you run a business, a technology business, you need to be a business leader that happens to have technology, just the tool. So it was until 2011 I opened the company in 2005. It wasn't until 2011 that I knew that something was wrong because I couldn't get past a certain level of income. So a year later, I realized that it was myself. I was a horrible leader. So I had to take a year sabbatical. I put somebody else in my place to run the company. And I went and I took a leadership course for technologists in the States. It was a 1-year course, about 35 books, 34, 35 books, all about culture, leadership. Like, it changed my life because I finally realized the horrible mistake that I was doing. And also the disservice that I was giving to my employees. Because you don't want a programmer to be the boss, honestly. You don't want a programmer to be the boss unless the programmer becomes a boss.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. And here's the other thing is you talk about the career progression. Earlier in your career, like for me, I've been in corporate almost all my life. You start off, people says, okay, make sure you don't share your knowledge with someone else. Because sharing this with someone else, somebody's going to take your job and you're going to be cut. Right? That's the mentality that's been ingrained. But then later on in life, as you go through it, you say, that's really the worst thing that you can possibly do. The best thing you should be doing is the moment you have stuff, share it. Because what it does is it allows you to have other people to gain the knowledge. Once other people gain that knowledge, it allows you to have time to think as to what else can you do and what other skills can you gain. Because otherwise, if you're the only one who knows something, no one is going to let you go. You're going to be staying there for the longest time in your life because you're very valuable in this job and no one else knows how to do this except for you.
That's a horrible lie. It's a horrible lie. And I got advice by the wrong people to do that, but I never paid attention. That's one of the things that the Lord never allowed me to make a mistake with. I always was willing to share what I knew, and that's what got me to leadership very fast. The analogy seems to be right, but it's so backwards because the thing is that, do you want to have one super skilled person or you want to have 100 super skilled persons or 1,000 super skilled people? The more you share your knowledge, the more you duplicate yourself, the more you work yourself out of the job forward.
Exactly.
Not out of the job out, but forward. You put yourself forward as you share your knowledge, people get empowered, and then you go forward, you learn more, and then you keep doing things until you become the CIO.
Right? I think the whole piece is as you keep going. But you know what? When you're out of school, the thing is, because competition, right? Competition is all about keeping it all to yourself, trying to do all that stuff. No one else will know. I have that competitive power. It's the wrong approach. And I tell, these days I also mentor students as well. And it's an amazing thing. It's like, the more you get to share, to tell them about the mistakes you have made or some insights that you have, it really helps. I mean, I love helping them and see them succeed. I think to me, one of the best things I did during my career is seeing people succeed in their career. And that gives me a lot of pleasure. People will say, "Oh, why are you doing this stuff?" I said, "You know what? I'm helping this person out, and the joy for me is seeing them succeed." And some people look at it and says, "You're crazy." I said, "No, but it's me."
You know what it is, Kin? Is the basis of the free world. If you look how the free markets in a democracy works, capitalism, you get the value that you give is the same proportion. The more value that you provide to another human is the value that you're going to get back. So the thing is that, especially if you provide that value unconditionally. So what you're doing, now I know why you're at the top, because what you're doing is you're really trying to grow people because it's your pleasure to see them succeed. That's unconditional. And there is some universal law. So I'm a man of faith. I'm a born-again Christian. And if you read the Bible, there is a lot of universal laws written there. Whether you believe in Jesus or not, the laws apply, right? One of those laws is, you reap what you sow. That's the law of the free markets. It's the amount of value that you're able to give, it will be returned to you.
Yep.
Right? So first, then you reap. And it's amazing. And it's not going to happen exactly with the persons that you're helping. But somehow, somewhere, an opportunity opens up, right? And you're like, you call it luck. But you don't know that unconsciously you were blessing so many people. And so it's time for you to get the value back. Right?
There's the other saying is that do what you would want other people to do to you.
Yes. And you know, that's called the golden rule. And it's in the book of Matthew. You know that there is other faiths that, you know, respectfully, I say, they have it backwards. I study other religions. Like, you know, I was away from my faith for about 15, 20 years. So I got to study all different types of religions. And the other religions it sounds similar to the golden rule, what you just said, but they make it backwards. And making it backwards is horrible. So the other religions, what they say is, do not do anything to the other person that you don't want them to do to you. So the Christian faith is positive, is do to others what you want them to do to you. That's the law of giving and receiving. The other one is isolating. So because I don't want you to steal from me, I want to steal from you. That's what that law says. If you put it in the right way, is because this person is suffering and doesn't have money, I'm going to give him some money. You see how different it is?
Yep.
Unconditionally. I'm not expecting him to pay me back. So one is activating, the other one is deactivating.
And no, it's true. But, you know, a lot of this is about how it is really about behaviors, how you twist people towards different words to your own gain. And it's the moment you start seeing that stuff, you kind of say, you know what, this is wrong, or there's something is fishy over there. But yeah, going back to the piece about from starting as a junior person, going all the way to being a CIO, it's really about it's the experience. Like, it's hard to actually explain that to people until there's some of the stuff they have to experience it, right? I was actually telling that to one of my mentees. I was saying, there's actually the difference between experience and knowledge. Knowledge, people tells you. Experience, you have to do it by yourself, and you get to feel the difference. Like, you know, you can tell me, prior to your journey, I will tell you, David, go read all the different religion, the religious books and all that stuff. It's going to open your mind. You will say, oh yeah. But until you've done it, it's a different feeling, right? Like, it's hard to explain to people on those concepts.
It's you know, in my faith we call it logos and rhema. So logos is the written word, and you read it, and you actually understand it. But when you apply it to your life, it becomes rhema. The word becomes active, right?
Yeah.
For example, if you go to computer science school and you learn all these things, but you never write a piece of code, or you never, you know, if you never design a microchip that you learn how to do it, it's useless if you don't see something proactive out of it, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. And that's for life. I can teach you how to make your bed, but until you go and make your bed, you won't experience the gain out of making your bed.
Exactly. And I think that's the piece I keep saying, you know, that there's the big difference between the knowledge and experience. But as a mentor, I can keep telling people about enhancing their knowledge. I can give them some feel about the experience, but they won't feel that experience until they actually experience it. So it's a fascinating piece. I think for me, as I go through my career progression, the various number of people that you end up meeting, the various number of people who helped you through the way, people who have challenged you, it all makes a difference. And the more you start learning about people's psychology, it really makes you better. It is literally you having a tool on your side that you say, I have something that's going to help me. And sometimes people say, well, why do I need to learn that? Why not them? Should they not know about this? And then why is it? I say, well, the difference is, if you have the tool, you're the one who can actually move forward as opposed to being stuck behind everybody arguing, finding things, right? I'll give you an example. There's, and you may have seen it as well. The Two Roonies. There's a comedy show called The Two Roonies, but they did a skit on communication, and it's called Four Candles. So it is all about how people talk, and people have different interpretation of things. So if I say 4 candles, is it 4 candles, like individual candles? Or is it a fork handle? Or is it a candle with the number 4? So if you think about it, right? So they did a whole skit about that. It's quite fun. If you haven't seen it, actually, I would go have a look at it. But it actually explained a lot of things about business requirements and the actual product, right? Just to firm it up a little bit, I would say, David, if I would say, get me some brownies, what would you get me?
I will go to the bakery and get you, maybe 4 or 5, brownies, dark, those dark pastries.
So this is what people do. Like we tend to think and says, okay, it's brownies. So now during this podcast, you would say, okay, I've started the podcast. I go and get the brownies. You come back, says, Kin, here are the brownies. You spent, I don't know, $100 on it. And I said, but David, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for brownies that I can put the brown letter E's that I can use in my postcard.
Brownies.
Right? But and the challenge is people tend to sort of say, oh, I know what you're saying, so let me give you what you're asking for. And then and then we get upset that this is not what the requirement is. So both sides get upset on that component. So one of the things that I think it helps, like, for people to understand, how do you communicate? How do you clarify?
That's not even for IT. Like in business in general, we have a culture in my business that I implemented about 7 years ago, and it's called the clarify and verify method. So when the chain of command or issues a request, every person in the chain of command down to the one who's doing it has to clarify and verify what they mean. And on the way down, and then on the way up too. So for example, is this what I understood you wanted?
Yes.
But this more, or no, it's not. And the faster you catch it, the less expensive the mistake becomes.
100%. And like you just said, the right question to ask is this what you want? Or the other thing to ask it is to say, what does it look like when it's done?
Yeah.
Right?
Or what is it for?
What is it for? Right? But sometimes people will say, oh, I would sound dumb, I would sound ignorant, so don't ask. I said, you know what? It's okay to say, look, it's okay to say, let me just clarify. That few minutes that you take extra will save so much work afterwards. Right? So,
and you're not talking about the tools. If you have good leadership in the business, which you obviously do because your company is so successful, the leaders will allow their subordinates to come up with different alternatives for what they want, because they tell you, what do you want? Like a business leader will never tell you, go get me a hammer. They're going to tell you, I need to have this board, nailed or applied to this wall by tomorrow. They're not going to tell you, go get me nails and hammer, because you could probably get an adhesive material that it will actually go there 10 times faster and cheaper. Right? So like alternatives of the solution. So what is it for? For me, it's like we assume solutions, and that's the problem with the technologies that fall in love with technology. If you fall in love with the hammer, everything looks like a hammer to you, and everything looks like a nail to you. But it could be a screw, and you need a screwdriver.
Absolutely, and so yeah, so it's fascinating as you start learning these components, and I like to share them with people. So that says, okay, you know what? Here, when you look at it, right? I even also talk about there are 5 things that I like to instill with people. I said, you know what? The number 1 is respect. It doesn't matter what, you have to have respect. for one another. If you don't have respect, forget about everything else. You know what? Nothing else will work. The second thing is learning, right? So have the ability to constantly looking to learn and absorb and then share that information. The third one is about collaboration, and I have a definition for collaboration. Collaboration to me is, how do I make my partner look good?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if everybody is in a team that's collaborating, and everyone is trying to make their partner around the table look good, it's called collaboration. If we make our partner look bad, it's called competition. Right. So that to me is about collaboration.
And you know, collaboration saved my marriage. I was about to be divorced in 2022, and when I went to ask for help, the Lord sent me this beautiful man of God who happened to be a psychoanalyst, and he told me, narcissists very rarely stay married; they get divorced. And I'm like, explain. Well, a narcissist wants to be right all the time. A narcissist uses other people to shine glory to themselves. A narcissist is willing to oppress other people so that they can come up top. So I'm like, wow, those people are bad. Yeah. And he said, and you're one of them. I'm like, what? Yeah. And that was after the fourth session. I'm like, what? And he started describing what I was doing based on what I talked. And I'm like, oh my God. I had to go and ask for forgiveness to my wife. And then he told me it's very easy. If all you do is try to make her look good, and if all she does is tries to make you look good, you're going to stay in love forever. And you know, that was 2022. Now it's 2025. We're going to be 36 years married this year. So that's not only for business, it's for life.
It is for life. It is a part. And to me, it is. So when I talk about 5, so I mentioned 3 of them. Yes, it's for work, but it applies to everybody. Like I keep saying, you know what? For example, if you don't have respect for your wife, making your wife look good doesn't help. You need to have respect for her in the first place, right?
They go together, right?
They go together. But that's
so narcissists try to make people good, but the people that is to their interest.
Yes.
Right? They flatter people on purpose because they know they have something they want. That's also narcissism.
Yeah.
So you need to have the respect first. You're right.
To respect the people, right? So then the number 4 piece I talk about is innovation. Innovate. And I have a very different definition about innovation that other people have too. Innovation to me is about understanding what your objective is. So you mentioned about the piece about the nail, the hammer, try to put this. If my objective is to actually have these pictures that you have, beautiful posters you have at the back, to say, I want to put posters on the wall. My objective is to actually convey the message of these movies, right? So great. One way of doing it is to actually put the posters on the wall, like a paper picture. Another way of doing it is to actually put a TV screen where you can keep rotating it. So it achieves, that is just a methodology of achieving what your objective is, right? But the hardest part is to actually get to understand what the objective is, right?
Yeah.
Once you understand the objective, you should always be looking to, how do I change the methodology to get it better? For example, my objective is to talk to you, right? 50 years ago, the way I can talk to you would be, we have to actually meet in person or on the phone. It has evolved. We now are chatting on the computer. I'm looking at a computer screen. You're looking at a computer screen.
And remember when an international call was $5 a minute?
Yeah. So it's the objective is to talk to somebody, but the way we achieve it changes. So that is the innovation piece, of finding the different methodology to actually achieve that objective.
And you know, an innovation without objective is dead and is wasteful. How many that, you know, I was studying, like there is so many modern cities in China, they innovated, they built them, and then nobody lives there because they were not fulfilling a need. They were just innovated for the sake of innovation.
They're just doing, and that's a piece where I say it's not called innovation. It's actually just here's a method. We found something to do, but what is the objective?
Yeah.
I don't know what the objective is. Right. So that to me that's a fourth one, is about the innovation piece. And then once you've done that, is commit. Commitment is to actually do it. You said, I'm going to do it, do it. So those are the 5 principles that I kind of go by to actually say, you know what, start with respect. You end up with a commitment. Along the way, you learn, you collaborate, you innovate. So it's these are the things that I've learned along the way to where I am right now, and I'm still learning. Right.
You know, Joaquin, I think if you haven't done that yet, I think that deserves a book. You should write a book with those 5 principles because they're amazing and they're so simple to learn. Have you ever thought about that?
I've thought about that, but one of these days, David.
Because you have enough experience and the model looks so simple. So I'm a multiplier. So when I find something that works, I multiply it. So for me, this podcast is multiplying your knowledge. That's why I do it, right? You have 5 principles, easy to remember, understand. But if you write a book, not only you have the podcast, but now you can actually multiply it to the masses. Because this is how we actually innovate. So let's talk about innovation, right? You grab something that works and you figure out how to make it faster, better, more affordable, and how to multiply it. Right? And that's how we came from the abacus thousands of years ago to asking ChatGPT how to do something and get an answer in 3 seconds.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a good point, David. I will keep that in mind. When you talk about the ChatGPT and abacus, a lot of people have been saying, you know what? Oh my God, generative AI is amazing, or it's terrible, and so forth. I said, well, let's just step back a little bit and look at the days before the internet. Right? Prior to the internet, I'm sure you remember, David, if you were being given an assignment, what were the ways for you to do the assignment?
You had to go to the computer lab.
No, there was no, computer lab, but there was also something. There was something called the library.
Yeah, before you went to the computer lab, you had to go to the library to buy the books or to borrow the books that you needed to learn how to operate the mainframe.
Oh, correct. So to go to the library, you try to find the book, and you have to wait. Once you get the book back, and then you can, at that point, then you can do your assignment. So the time from where you get the assignment to when they deliver the assignment, it's actually weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And then the internet came about. The weeks, then people go, oh my God, I can actually do my assignment in days. Mm-hmm. Now we have generative AI. People go, I can actually do my assignment in minutes. Right. Now, I'm not saying go cheat. I mean, the cheating aspect where people talk about plagiarism and all that stuff still existed with the days of the library. I can just photocopy the whole book and just copy the exact same thing.
Or how about the kids that used to copy somebody else's assignment and change a few words? That's plagiarism.
It's still the same, right?
Right.
But there is a big difference with generative AI, is that it has now, people can get the ability to learn. And when I say ability to learn, is that everybody has a different level of learning, of associating things together. So, when you go in school, you have all this formula. The objective is pass this exam, because that's what. But did you understand exactly what this formula or these theories does? No, I just learn it, memorize it. Once the exam is done, it's done. Mm-hmm. It's a terrible way of learning, but that's how we used to learn. With generative AI, you now say, here's this equation, or here's this theory. Where is it applied? Give me some real life, example of it. And if you still don't understand, you can keep asking 1,000 times in all type of permutation, and it will tell you. You will never get upset. Can you imagine talking to a teacher?
And what I tell people is that you still need to have the gift of discernment, because you got to remember that AI will be as good as the data that is working on. So if you don't, and that's where plagiarism and all these things don't apply, because if you ask ChatGPT about something about history and it comes back with three possible answers based on three possible resources, you have to be able to discern or research what's the right answer.
Absolutely. And I think the piece, so one component, GenAI is a tool. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Should you trust it? Absolutely not. But what you need to make sure is, it's the same thing when you were using the internet to search for things. Is that the definite answer? No, you always have to validate.
Yeah.
So validation is extremely important. The same thing with the library. When you go and get the books, you get some information, you still need to validate, cross-reference, check the stuff. Is it the right thing or not? The internet came about, they did the same thing. Why are you changing the approach now with Gen AI? It's not because it's giving you the answer faster. You still need to verify because you have no idea where the data came from. So you need to verify and validate. Otherwise, you're back to the same thing.
And you know what's the pattern, Kim? We're talking about, people ask me, what do I do to get a career in the future? I'm like, exactly what I did when I was in university. Learn to become a great researcher.
Yes.
And grow your gift of discernment. How? By gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? But research, right? What do you do with ChatGPT? You research. What do you do with the internet? You research. What do you do with the school library? You're researching.
Your research. The only difference is speed at which you're getting the information. That's the difference. Other than that, your principle, I think the base principle still applies.
Yeah.
Right? Not because now it's here, I don't need to verify it. And the other piece is that people say, well, do not put information, your personal information with the Gen AI. I say, well, hang on. Did you put your personal information when you were using the Google search? No, you didn't do that. So then if you didn't do that, why would you do that here?
Right.
So, but somehow this concept the people tend to lose them. And I keep going back. Like you really have to have your base concept in place. So say, look, I'm researching. To your point, I'm researching. Whether I use the book, whether I use the Google search, or whether I use Gen AI, or whether I use something else in the future, your principle still applies. And if you modify it, you change that, then it's going to mess things up. So I'm not sure, but the thing, the way we went through in terms of the career leadership and stuff, we can have a whole bunch of places.
But that's what's beautiful about this podcast, because for example, this episode is an amazing episode because we touch on things that are applicable for today. If somebody comes here and listens to this podcast and grabs one golden nugget, they could change their career forever. Grabs it and apply it, right?
Absolutely. And I have so this one I think you don't like. When we talk about cybersecurity, right? People talk about phishing, right? The whole aspect of stealing data and all that stuff. And I said, you know what? Phishing is actually no different. It's actually called conning. Mm-hmm. And the art of conning has been around for a very, very long time. David, from a Bible standpoint, you know that Eve conned Adam to eat the apple.
And Jacob, right? Jacob stole the inheritance of his older brother by a bowl of soup.
So the whole aspect of it is basically getting someone to do something that he or she didn't want to do.
But you know what's also called, and there is, everything is searching in the world, and I want to make sure that that conning is another version of witchcraft. Witchcraft is fooling somebody else to give you what they don't want to give you, or do what they don't want to do.
Yeah, right? But it's that. But all these things are just the concept is the same. It's just to have different names associated with it. And today we have phishing, smishing, vishing, whatever shame that they have, right? But at the end of the day, all they're doing is trying to get you to give them information that you would not normally give.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't give your personal banking information. You wouldn't give your user ID and password to every single stranger. You wouldn't.
And they're getting more and more clever, right? Like thank God I work with an IT people, because you know what they do nowadays? They imitate banks, or they imitate formal institutions. They make the email address look exactly the same. And when you push the button, either you get a Trojan horse, or if you're fool enough, they take you to a site to log into your bank account, and it's not your bank account, it's the hacker's website, right?
Correct. But this is part of the whole art of deception, deceiving somebody for you to give out things that you wouldn't be doing.
But it's ancient too. You're right. I mean, this is the thing. Just the tools are different.
It's just the tools are
We
different.
started with tools. We're finishing with tools.
Exactly. It's just the tool are different. It's how you achieve that. So it is a fascinating piece, and when you look at it from my career standpoint, when I look at it, it says, oh my God, there's been so many of these pieces, and everything is linked. Like you build on top of it. There is nothing that I would say, oh, I wish this didn't happen. Well, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have learned from it.
Right.
Right. And so that's the piece where it's hard to explain to people. It says, in your career, you have experience, and without those experiences, you wouldn't be where you are without those components. Every single little pieces add up to where you are.
And actually, that's why when you hire somebody, you look at their experience, because when you know that they have made mistakes and they have overcome them, that's actually how you learn most of the time. Like, probably we should finish the podcast with this, but you know how to ride a bike, right? Even if you read a book on how to riding a bike, you are going to fall at least 5 times before you can hit that balance. And it's the experience, it's the falling, is the bruising your knees until you finally figure it out. So you cannot be afraid of failure. Of course, inform yourself. So instead of falling down 30 times, you fall down 5 times. But you're still going to fall down eventually.
You're still going to experience it. There's certain things, like I'm still learning about not to eat something that's hot and you're going to burn your tongue. We always say that's terrible, but we still do it.
King, it was a pleasure doing your podcast. I know it's going to bless a lot of people. Are you on LinkedIn if people like to ask questions or follow you?
I am on LinkedIn. And so if people want to check me out, they can check me out on LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, King. God bless you, and have a beautiful rest of the week.
Thank you for having me, David. It's been a blast.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leaders in Tech podcast. Check in next week to keep learning how to use technology and leadership to change the game. See you next time.